PIXAR originated in the 1970s at the New York Institute of Technology, NYIT, where a team of computer scientists, including Ed Catmull, contributed to the emerging field of computer graphics. In 1979, Catmull was hired by Lucasfilms, the California-based production company of filmmaker George Lucas, to lead its nascent computer division, and some of his New York Institute of Technology colleagues followed him there. Aiming to improve graphics technology, the division developed the PIXAR image computer, which, in its ability to render high-resolution, three-dimensional color images, offered applications beyond the film industry. The name PIXAR was conceived as a faux Spanish word meaning to make pictures, PIXAR. Known simply as the Computer Graphics Division, PIXAR in its early days produced computer animation sequences for Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan in 1982, Star Wars, Return of the Jedi in 1983, and Young Sherlock Holmes in 1985. PIXAR initially sold high-end computer imaging software and hardware such as the PIXAR Image Computer. The Adventures of Andre and Wally B, PIXAR's first animated short, was produced in 1984. The plot is simple. An android named Andre gets chased around a forest by a rather persistent bee. The 1986 PIXAR short film Luxo Jr. was a defining film for the company in many ways. The plot involves a young, energetic lamp that struggles to play with a ball as an older lamp looks on. It was the first PIXAR film to be nominated for an Academy Award in the category of Best Animated Short. With Lucas seeking to streamline his company, the computer division in 1986 was spun off as an independent business. By 1984, Lucasfilm had hired John Lasseter, who had worked as an animator at Disney, and he took advantage of the company's technological strides to create short computer animated films. With Lucas seeking to streamline his company, the computer division in 1986 was spun off as an independent business, the controlling interest of which was acquired by Apple co-founder Steve Jobs, not by Apple. Steve Jobs wasn't working at Apple at that time, he was just fired. He was then the head of the computer firm Next Incorporated. Steve Jobs bought PIXAR for just $5 million on February the 3rd, 1986. That's the equivalent of roughly $12 million in 2021. It wasn't a slam dunk at first, just in retrospect. PIXAR lost a lot of money in its first years after being acquired by Jobs, according to the PIXAR Touch, The Making of a Company by David A. Price. For the first 10 years, we lost a lot of Steve's money. A lot of Steve's money, said PIXAR animator John Lasseter in the book. Catmull became president and CEO of the new company, called PIXAR, and Jobs was installed as chairman of the board. Initially, Jobs steered the company's efforts toward marketing the PIXAR image computer and developing high-tech graphics software. In light of his background, that's not surprising. Still, PIXAR was slow to turn a profit, and in 1990 it sold its hardware operations altogether. Meanwhile, Lasseter's short film, produced with the company's own cutting-edge software, won some acclaim, including an Academy Award for Teen Boy in 1988, and in 1989, PIXAR began making computer-animated television TV commercials. And 2 years later, it entered an agreement with Disney to jointly develop, produce, and distribute 3 feature-length animated motion pictures. Reorganizing to accommodate its new creative focus, PIXAR spent much of the next several years working on Toy Story, which opened in theaters in 1995 as the first entirely computer animated feature film. The family-friendly movie, which humorously imaginated the private lives of toys, was a critical and commercial hit, and it earned Lasseter, its director, an Academy Award for Special Achievement. By 1995, Jobs had taken a more active role in the company. As its CEO, Catmull remained an upper-level executive. 1 week after Toy Story's release, PIXAR launched its initial public stock offering. In 1997, having amassed substantial revenues from the film and its merchandising, the studio negotiated to extend its partnership with Disney. PIXAR enjoyed continued success with such crowd-pleasing movies such as A Bug's Life in 1998, Toy Story 99, Finding Nemo in 2003, and The Incredibles in 2004. Subsequent PIXAR productions included WALL-E in 2008, Brave in 2012, Monster Universe in 2013, a sequel to the studio's Monster Inc. from 2001, Inside Out in 2015, Finding Nemo in 2016, the sequel to Finding Nemo, Coco in 2017, Incredibles 2 2018, Toy Story 4 2019, and most recently Soul in 2020 and Luca in 2021. During the first decade in which the Academy Award for Best Animated Features was bestowed beginning with 2002, PIXAR Productions dominated the category, capturing 8 nominations and 6 wins, up and Toy Story 3 also received Oscar nominations for Best Picture, a rare honor for animated fare. The smaller lamp, Luxo Jr., went on to become a permanent part of Pixar's logo after the release of Toy Story 1995. Since their creation, Luxo Jr. and Sr. have made several cameos in Pixar's feature films and shorts. A red version of Luxo Sr. can be seen on Andy's desk in all 3 Toy Story films, including the 1996 Toy Story 3's shorts. Luxo Jr. and the trash-collecting robot Wall-E interact for the first time in a teaser trailer for the 2008 film. Luxo Jr.'s bulb goes out and Wall-E rolls in to replace it. Pixar signed a 3-film contract with Disney back in 1991. According to the New York Times, the deal entitled Pixar to only 10 to 15% of the profits from the movies. The first Toy Story film was the first full-length feature film to be made entirely using CGI. It had a production budget of only $30 million, less than half of Disney's Lion King from '94, which cost $79.3 million to develop. Toy Story made $29.1 million in its opening weekend, almost earning back its full production budget. It went on to become the highest grossing film that year. The film's epic opening weekend beat out Titanic from '97, which grossed only $28.6 million. In 2006, as the Disney contract neared its end, Jobs sold Pixar to the larger company. Catmull was named president of both Walt Disney Animation Studios and Pixar Animation Studios, while Lasseter became the studio's chief creative officer. He left his position in 2018 amid allegations of sexual misconduct. Steve Jobs bought the company for $5 million and sold it for $7 billion. That's quite a profit. The people involved in Pixar movies were really involved in the Pixar movies, sometimes the crew becoming the cast. Some of the most iconic voices in Pixar's films actually come from those that typically hang out behind the camera. One favorite example of this is The Incredibles director Brad Bird, acting as the voice of Edna Mode. Andrew Stanton, director of Finding Nemo and others, also provided his vocal talents to Crush, the sea turtle in Finding Nemo, and Finding Dory and Emperor Zurg in Toy Story. Monsters Inc.'s Boo could have been very different. Pixar went through several iterations for Boo before they settled on the adorable little gal we see in Monsters Inc. Initially, Boo was supposed to be a grown man who stumbled upon the monster world that he used to draw as a child. Every monster represented one of his fears. As he overcame the fears he had in everyday life, monsters disappeared in the end of the movie, being no monster left, which was quite a bit sad. Other potential versions included a little Irish girl with as thick as an accent as Merida, and Boo even had the potential to be Pixar's first black main character. Pixar movies are doing really well even when they are not the best. Their biggest flop was The Good Dinosaur, bringing in just $329 million. On the other end of the spectrum, Toy Story 3 made almost 3 times that number, raking in $1 billion at the box office, and Toy Story 4 won over $1 billion at the box office. So 329 million, while just awesome for other movies, is a flop for Pixar. There have been other mishaps. Toy Story 2 was almost accidentally entirely deleted. Pixar almost lost a year of work on Toy Story 2. Someone accidentally ran a command to clear out the system at Pixar and all of the files were deleted. Luckily, Associate Technical Director Galen Sussman had been working at home to be near her newborn. She had all of the files they needed on her personal computer. That was a close one. Also, Woody was originally supposed to be a ventriloquist dummy. We are glad this did not happen. We wouldn't have had the cowboy figure we have now. And in closing, Pixar changes movies to be relatable in other countries. The most well-known example of this is in Inside Down. The scene when Riley won't eat broccoli was changed in some Asian countries, since Asian cultures don't have the same problem with broccoli that some Westerners do. Pixar also swapped out hockey for soccer in countries that aren't as familiar with the skating sport. Also, some movies were born with the crew just hanging out. One lunchtime brainstorming session conceived A Bug's Life, Monsters Incorporated, Finding Nemo, and Wall-E. John Lasseter, Andrew Stanton, Joe Ranft, and Peter Docter were having a meeting about Toy Story when they began scrolling on a napkin. Those scrollings turned into A Bug's Life, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, and Wall-E. That lunch paid for itself. And a sneak peek from the future episode, Pixar made some huge animation achievements. Many of them involve hair. Yes. Sully in Monsters Inc. has over 5.5 million pieces of hair, and animating him was a challenge in an original film and in Monsters University. Another major feat was the creation of new animation software to animate Merida's hair, because the star of Brave has got some complex looks. And that's all for today. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe. I'm Alex, and until next time, watch Pixar movies. They are really great. My favorite Pixar movie is Cars. I watched it several times. Each time it manages to be new again. Then The Incredibles, which is really good, followed by Up and A Bug's Life. Now go on and watch movies.